Folks, I am super excited about our show today. I have with me the brilliant Micah Erfan and the legendary Joe Walsh, both to help us chop up the issues that are front and center, primarily the landmark decision handed down by SCOTUS, which has basically gutted our Voting Rights Act. Before we get into that and Pete Hegseth and the indictment of James Comey and Trump's stupid ballroom, let me get this off my chest, right? For the past year or so, I've been wondering why Republicans have been so lackadaisical about their lack of policies that would make life better for Americans. They seem unbothered by the fact that their president is polling lower than any other president in history. They seem, unfazed by the fact that they are looking at potentially a shellacking, a legendary shellacking in the midterms this year. They're like, they're fine. I've just been wondering, like, what is going on? Are you not worried about the voters? No, they're not worried about the voters. And why? Well, there's been a nonstop onslaught on voting rights, whether it's their attempt to gerrymander districts, whether it's today's verdict handed down by SCOTUS, whether it's their SAVE Act, which wants to do away with mail-in voting. The game plan is the same across the board. They want to make sure that as few people vote as possible. And that, my friends, is as undemocratic as it gets. Voting rights, that's the bedrock of our democracy. That's the foundation. That's the stuff that makes us different, that makes America better. Sorry, rest of the world, but it makes America so great. We are great. But we cannot let ourselves slip into this thing where politicians get to decide, who is going to keep them in power. So we are going to get into that. We have a whole lot of issues to jump into. So I hope you're ready to get into it, because I am. Let's go. Incredible person, incredible human being. Yes, famous. Yes. And without further ado, I want to bring my two incredible friends on today. I have, Here we go. Directly to the right of me, there's Micah, and down below, there is Mr. Joe Walsh. Welcome, guys.
My friend, good to be with you. Micah, good to see you, brother. Both of you.
So, Micah, you were explaining to me before the show started that you and Joe have something of a loose prior affiliation prior to tonight.
Yeah, we both helped out with the same organization, Project Liberal, which is trying to, make liberalism mean something again in this country. Liberalism has largely been defined by right-wingers. Project Liberal says we're going to actually define our own ideology for ourselves.
Amen. And it's an effort to fight back against illiberalism, which is sprouting up in America and all over the world.
Thank you guys both for that description. What I love about these guys is that they are from different backgrounds, very different backgrounds. Joe Walsh is a former Republican congressman, and Micah is a brand new but powerful and brilliant voice in our political sphere. And he's very active on the social media, and he does the TikToks. He's very good.
I do those. Yes, from time to time.
But what brings them together, what brings us all together, is their love for America, their love for our democracy, and their desire to want to change things and improve them, unlike the guy currently sitting in the Oval Office. So without further ado, let's jump right into today's main story. Or actually, before we do that, I'm sorry. I do have to cover this here, not that. This. So the main story, of course, it says voting rights are dead. And in the background, you can see the Supreme Court there. But in the foreground, you see James Comey and Trump. And then right there behind Micah is a shot of the ballroom. So we're going to get into those issues. The Supreme Court once again has screwed us. And we're going to jump into why we should or should not panic. James Comey, indicted for seashells. Indicted for the threatening seashells, the seashells that threatened the President of the United States. Ridiculous. The ballroom that nobody asked for, that originally was supposed to be paid for by private donors, and now looks like taxpayers might be on the hook for it. So if this is your first time here, please make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. And I want to thank all of our viewers for watching, and stay tuned. This is going to be a heck of a show. So Donald Trump posted today's 6-3 Supreme Court decision in the Callais case is a big win for equal protection under the law. It's only a big win depending on where you're sitting, as it returns the Voting Rights Act to its original intent, which was to protect against intentional racial discrimination, blah, blah, blah. So on the other side of the spectrum, we have a more reasonable post by President Obama, who says today's Supreme Court decision effectively guts a key pillar of the Voting Rights Act, freeing state legislatures to gerrymander legislative districts to systematically dilute and weaken the voting power of racial minorities, so long as they do it under the guise of partisanship rather than explicit racial bias. Now, Micah, you were telling me that you actually you had to study the Voting Rights Act for school. Is that it?
Yeah, so I'm a law student, and I'm taking an election law class. I'm about to have my final in 2 days. We always knew that this decision was coming, and it was likely going to mess up the doctrine. But man, the doctrine is royally screwed. But I could explain to you what they messed up, because there's a lot.
I want to ask. Well, first, I'm sorry. Tell me that, but I also want to know. You explained to me that you are less worried about this, and I want to hear why, because I am supremely worried about this.
Well, I mean, succinctly, it's because the Voting Rights Act does not just constrain red states, it also constrains blue states. So if you look at all of the districts, all the gerrymandering we could do in the blue states and all the gerrymandering they can do in the red states, you can actually see timelines where Democrats just have a majority, regardless of whether Republicans get 48% of the vote, 52% of the vote, we just have a majority. Now, that's not the world we want to live in. But I think that there's this dire view that a lot of liberals have that's like, no matter what, we can't escape this situation that they're creating. We actually have a lot of ammunition still left in this gerrymandering war, and so we can still come out on top.
Very interesting. So, Joe, you previously sat in the chamber, and you know how things go there. I want to know, what the hell are your former colleagues thinking? Why are they so intent on rigging the game instead of doing it the way it's supposed to work, with the voters choosing the politicians instead of the other way around?
It's a great question, and I would love to keep picking Micah's brain on the Voting Rights Act as well as the ruling in Louisiana. I don't think it's huge doom and gloom as well, but my friend, I agree with your premise. As a former Republican, Republicans have always believed, and they still do, that the fewer people who vote, the better it will be for them. I can't deny that. That's still part of their philosophy. Both sides gerrymander. Both sides do what they can to play the game and rig the game, and we've got to get rid of gerrymandering, to begin with, and we should. And I know the Democratic Party, supports a bill on banning gerrymandering. The Republicans will never support that. But we're not going to get these reforms. Yes, that's the lay of the land right now. Republicans are trying to keep people from voting as best as they can. Democrats want more people to vote. I think in a year like this, and Micah alluded to this before we came on air, right now we got a situation where people who oppose what Trump is, like the three of us and so many other people, we will crawl butt-ass naked across broken glass for miles to vote in November. So our aim, I'm still really optimistic that assuming we have a free and fair election, it's going to be a blue tsunami like we've never seen. And if that can happen, election after election, then maybe we can begin to enact some reform.
Joe, you said something that was interesting, and I want to play a little clip from Leader Jeffries. You said that Democrats will be willing to crawl over coals to vote, and I just
butt ass naked, broken glass for miles. That wouldn't be a pretty sight, by the way, for some of us.
Okay, let me play this real quick.
We're gonna fight everywhere, all the time, across the country, in the Deep South, in the North, in the West, in the Midwest. We're gonna fight them everywhere, just like we've done as it relates to the gerrymandering battle that they started, that we're finishing, while at the same time protecting the ability of African-American communities, Black communities, to elect the candidate of their choice in the face of centuries of racial discrimination. And the nerve of these right-wing extremists on the Supreme Court to pretend as if racial bigotry no longer exists and then write an opinion that proves the exact opposite.
Oops, hang on. Okay, so Micah, I want to go back to you, and I want to ask, from what Leader Jeffries just said, is what he said about the we're going to fight here and we're going to fight there, is that why you are not so concerned about this, or is there something else that you've got your eye on?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd like him to be more specific, because I think he needs to be, for us to do what needs to be done here, right? So they're redrawing all these southern states. We have to redraw Colorado, where Democrats have been hesitant to do what needs to be done. Illinois, New York, there's more seats to get out of those states, and there's discussion about doing it. But look at Maryland. There's a seat to be taken there. California has more to take. Washington, Oregon. I mean, there's a lot of places where you can find additional seats. But here's the big problem, and this is going to be the biggest political barrier that we have to deal with. A lot of Democratic states have enacted their own voting rights acts. So we're constrained by these acts that now none of the red states are. And so that means that we're, based on these acts, we might have to put, a district that's 70 or 80% African-American, and that doesn't allow us to efficiently distribute those votes. So Democrats are going to have to be real and say, we need to start changing the regulations we're putting on ourselves so that we can go pound for pound with the Republican Party. If we do that, we could actually win the redistricting war.
So Joe, what are your thoughts?
Well, and Micah makes a great point. Again, let's remember the context here. I mean, I was a victim of redistricting back when I was in Congress. Look, both sides, gerrymander, and I come from Illinois. Democrats were in charge of Illinois. They draw the districts, and Republicans draw the districts where they can. Trump started this fight, though, because we do that, as you all know, every 10 years after every census, end of decade redistricting. Trump's the one who started this thing called mid-decade redistricting. He called the governor of Texas and said, damn it, give me 5 or 6 new seats down there. He started this battle. And Democrats, to Micah's point, have thankfully really fought back in California, in Virginia, in a number of states. Based on this ruling today, there will be some redrawing of districts in some of the southern states. And Micah's right. Democrats might. I've only been a Democrat for 10 months. And my biggest criticism of the party is they got to learn how to fucking fight. Because my former party fights all the time.
Expound on that. When you say they got to learn how to fight, because I've heard that criticism a lot from our side. What do you mean by fight? You mean play dirty by like Republicans? Because frankly, I think that's the only thing that's really missing. Like they have no qualms. They don't appear to have any shame in their game.
Their leader, and he is their leader, is an utterly corrupt, lawless person who doesn't give a damn about a law, a norm, an institution, anything. Do we want to be like that? No. But again, look at this mid-decade redistricting fight. The Democrats could have just said, that's wrong. We don't redraw districts in the middle of a decade. Doggone it, don't do that. What Democrats do? Gavin Newsom and the rest of them, they said, fuck it. Fuck it. Okay, you did that. We're going to do this, even though we don't like it. I wish, Mike is right. I wish my home state of Illinois would join that fight as well.
Right.
Mike,
we have, go ahead. Okay. What I was going to say is,
go ahead.
Go ahead, buddy. If you look at the scoreboard right now, Republicans are on their 7th redraw. We might get an 8th redraw before this is all over. We've had 2 Democratic states fight back thus far. That's super disproportionate. And it's going to get even more disproportionate over time if we have these Democrats that don't want to do redraws because it's too radical. Like, look at New Jersey. There's another seat to grab over there. There's a lot of redrawing we have to do. But the other thing that we need to do is we need to more clearly articulate who's the better side on this. I don't think Americans really get it whenever you say, well, Texas started, then it was Missouri, North Carolina. The timeline is too complex. We saw that over here in Virginia. We only won our vote by 3.5 percentage points. What we need to do is very clearly get Republicans on the record voting no against a gerrymandering ban. And this is the big thing I'm asking Democrats in the House to do. I hope we all do this together. They have the votes to get a discharge petition passed to force a vote on a gerrymandering ban. Why do I know that? Because there's 8 or 9 Republicans that just got drawn out. All those guys are going to vote for a gerrymandering ban. You take the House Democrats, the Republicans, you come together, you pass that discharge petition, and it goes to the Senate, and guess what? Every Republican's going to vote no. But now you have the Republican Party on the record voting no, and the Democrats on the record voting yes. I think that's what we need to do to show who's the better side on this issue.
That's an interesting points that you're making, specifically about how those Republicans are willing to sign on to that discharge petition. Because could this whole thing, and I'm going to jump back to you, Joe, could this whole thing end up backfiring on Republicans in a way that they're not expecting?
Well, again, it comes back to Trump. They started, and I get what Mike is saying, the whole mid-decade thing, which is a big deal. But because Donald Trump has given America 15 months of chaos, corruption, incompetence, you name it, he single-handedly fucked up the economy. Because his numbers are so bad, even those Texas districts that Republicans redrew, Micah knows better than I, based a lot on the Latino vote down there. There's no guarantee those districts are gonna go Republican because politically Trump and Republicans are in such trouble. So no, Republicans are not going to do as well as they thought they'd do cheating like this.
Interesting. Excuse me, folks. I want to ask you guys about this in the chat. Does the Supreme Court still have any legitimacy after today? Leave your comments there, and we'll throw them up. And as we move on, I want to move on to our next topic because I know, Joe, you have a hard out at 7:15, so I want to make sure we can fit as much as possible in there. So. James Comey is no longer the FBI director, but I'm old enough to remember when he was, and he had kind of a chummy relationship with Donald Trump. In fact, so chummy that he kind of helped him to get in the office in the first place. And so many years later, he's got a hard on to seek some revenge against James Comey. I think it might have something to do with Russia. I want to get you guys to first of all, I want to get your opinion on this whole thing. So for the audience there, James Comey has been re-indicted once again, this time for supposedly threatening the life of President Trump by by taking a picture of some seashells that he found at the beach and then posting it to his Instagram, after which he was interviewed by the FBI, and they said, it looks like it could be somewhat threatening. He says, oh, that wasn't my intention. He took it down. I'm sorry. He posted, I'm sorry. Now he's indicted. Joe, let me start with you. What the hell is this all about?
Two thoughts. The thing that makes me more sad about Donald Trump than anything else, actually, it makes me sad for America. He's normalizing behavior that is so fucking wrong, un-American, and anti-democratic. The Justice Department just indicted James Comey because Trump told them to. Like, Donald Trump has obliterated that wall between the president and the Justice Department. The Justice Department doesn't work for him. The Justice Department works for the American people. Trump's turned the Justice Department into his own personal law firm. This isn't normal, and I worry that young Americans are going to think this is normal. Second and final point, this is the most anti-free speech administration in American history. 2 days ago, Trump demanded a comedian be fired for telling a joke. Here he is going after James Comey's, no matter what you think of Comey's exercising of his free speech rights. That's all this is. He's expressing an opinion with those seashells. He's got a right to do it. This thing's going to get thrown out. Everybody knows that, but this is Trump going after his enemies.
Okay, Micah, two things. One, you are a legal student, and so I want you to opine.
He's a lawyer in my eyes. Call him a lawyer. He's a lawyer.
I'm getting closer and closer, but I just took criminal law, so I have some stuff to tell y'all about that.
And then wait, and then secondly, Joe said he's worried that young people will begin to see this sort of thing as normal. So I want your opinion as a young people and as a lawyer.
Okay, great. So first, whenever they charged him with making a threat on the president's life, that's what they said that this Instagram post was. And you need to prove two things. You need to say that was actually objectively a threat. There was the criminal act of the threat. And the most important part is the intent. And they just absolutely lose on both of these prongs that they need to prove, especially on the beyond a reasonable doubt standard, which is what we use for criminal trials. There's just no way you get a jury to fully, uniformly agree that he satisfies that criteria. This is the second time they've indicted James Comey, and this is going to be the second time they completely miserably fail. In regards to the independent Department of Justice, it is kind of extraordinary, the fact that we look throughout our long history, we're a country where the Department of Justice has been a pretty impartial entity that's actually cared about prosecuting criminals. This is something that happened under Biden. Biden prosecuted more Democrats than we've seen in a long time because he actually cared about justice. The thing is, I don't think young people or normal people know anything about our institutions, which is part of the reason why we got to this situation in the first place. And so I think we do have a lot of work to do to show people that government actually can work, and not everything needs to be as cynical as it looks today. That's all I got for you.
That gives me some hope. That does give me some hope. Did we lose our host? Mike, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. The mic's not working. I think Kash Patel and Todd Blanche have intervened. This is another act of partisan lawfare. Did you keep up with the first indictment of James Comey and also Letitia James?
Yeah,
that's great.
This thing's going to get thrown out, right?
I think so. I mean, you could see a district court dismiss it, but I mean, it might get to the trial stage. But I mean, there might be precedent in the whatever district court this is. I think is it in Georgia or it's North Carolina?
I'm not sure.
There might be precedent that this is just something categorically doesn't need
because
count.
Micah, as you said, the only evidence really, when you look at the indictment, it's laughable, but it's that image, and it's James Comey who took down the image, who said, I didn't intend to threaten the president's life. I mean, that's it. There's no other evidence of anything.
And there's also so much evidence that his defense counsel can point to of people using that exact phrase in ways that are not problematic. And I think there might be another way to challenge this on the grounds of abuse of prosecutorial discretion to like target your political opponents, because people have been showing on the internet all of these examples of right-wingers using this exact same rhetoric for Joe Biden, and somehow they're not getting prosecuted.
And Micah, the timing of this, like Todd Blanche said yesterday, they've been working on this for a year. Bullshit. But even, I mean, Todd Blanche, no matter what you think of him, pretty smart dude. He was out there yesterday announcing this indictment, and he just didn't look like he wanted to be there, and he really couldn't defend much of anything. And so they dropped this thing like 3 days after what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It just smells. It just smells.
They're on an extraordinary losing streak right now. I mean, look at the slap suit that Trump did against the Wall Street Journal for publishing his Epstein birthday letter. Well, that got dismissed a little while ago. Kash Patel is suing. He sued somebody. That got dismissed. Now he's suing The Atlantic for reporting the fact that everybody in the DMV knows, which is that he's a raging alcoholic. So I don't know. I feel like
Micah, is this the kind of thing? Is this the kind of issue, as a former politician, that really people don't pay attention to? Like, do you think will this have any salience in the midterms? This kind of stuff, him going after his opponents.
I don't think democracy and institutions like really matter to people unless you like really put it out in people's face. I think like corruption can sort of matter, but unfortunately people just don't seem to care about this stuff.
Yeah.
I can't even hear you guys. I don't know what the hell happened.
By the way, Brooklyn Dad, Micah, you need a new co-host. Your new host. He held the show.
Oh, I'm the new host.
You're the new host.
Wow.
Let me see if I can
I can hear
That's
you
crazy.
on my phone. This is crazy. I apologize, you guys. I apologize. I don't know what the hell is going on here.
We improvised. We kept the show going. It's good that you're back. Can you hear us?
Log on to my YouTube channel.
I don't know if he can hear us. But like Micah, I can remember when I was in Congress.
Now I can hear it.
You
but
got
now
us?
I can
Okay,
hear
good.
everything.
Take over the show, boss.
Great. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear an echo.
Yeah, I hear an echo too.
That's terrible.
No. It's
Oh wait, now I got you guys back. There we go. Okay.
That sounds crazy.
You know what this is, guys? It's a cyber attack. That's what it is.
I think Micah was right. It's Kash Patel.
Okay, we're back on, guys. This is live, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know. Okay, so I assumed that you two brilliant guys were going to be able to get it on without me in the mix anyway. So where did we leave off? We were talking about James Comey and how normalized.
The audio does still sound a little weird.
Yeah, you sound horrible. There's like tons of static, and you sound like you're in a nuclear facility like 10,000 feet below ground.
That's not good.
It's funny. I had a interview with some senators a little while ago. Where my so it always happens.
Okay, just hang on there. I'm trying something. This is insane.
Still bad?
There.
Good?
Say something.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm
that's
saying
miraculous.
something. How about now?
Now, nobody move. Go. All right, continue. Proceed.
Okay, so we were in the midst of discussing James Comey's situation. My issue is this, right? And I'm sure this is similar to a lot of other people. These so-called threats are nothing. There's 8647. We have Matt Gaetz posting that we've now 86th McCarthy, McDaniel, McConnell, better days ahead for the party. President Obama has previously had people praying for his days to be few, and Donald Trump he himself is guilty of saying a litany of horrible, horrible things, including that the 5 congressional Democrats who he accused of treason should be put to death. He thought General Milley should be put to death, and on and on and on. So come on, what the hell are we talking here? Are we? Is he a little snowflake who can't handle a picture of some seashells on the beach?
Look, I'll just say this, and I said this yesterday on my show. What are we even doing? This whole tone down the rhetoric bullshit. We have a monster in the White House. I mean, he's by far the most divisive, the most hateful, the cruelest public figure of the last 14, 15 years. And it's not even close. So all of these Republicans telling Democrats they need to watch their rhetoric. I'm sorry, they need to be mocked and laughed at or ignored because their dear leader is the most egregious practitioner of hateful, really hateful rhetoric.
What do you think, Micah? Are we? How do we address this this dichotomy of views? Like one side is saying it's your fault, and the other side is saying no, it's your fault. How do we? Where does the toning down of rhetoric begin and end?
I really do think it comes down to institutional reform. I mean, we look at our political system and it keeps producing really, really bad outcomes. I mean, even when Democrats get power, there's all these things that count against them being able to do good things, all these powerful special interest groups. There's the filibuster. There's all these things. And so I think that we need to really change these political institutions that produce the incentives that lead to the bad political behavior we see. I mean, you look at all these Republicans who take so many unpopular stances. They're so deferential to this president, which is not even popular in their own districts. And I think it's because they have these partisan political primaries where they're responsible not to the general public, but only to a very small radicalized base of Republican voters. That is one of the things that I think that we need to address to actually get our political system heading in a better direction. And I give credit, Pete Buttigieg has been talking about this a lot. I hope more Democrats do so because it's really what we need to change.
I love what you just said there. Joe, I want to ask you, back in the day, they used to say that if a candidate or a president or sitting, politician, whatever, if their popularity dipped into the 20s, if their approval ratings dipped into the 20s, they were out of here. They were gone. Nobody was going to support them at all. So Donald Trump, last time I saw, his ratings were hovering somewhere down around 33%. If he dips into the 20s, is he finished, or is that no longer a reality?
Look, and I always need to condition everything I say by saying the following. Donald Trump is doing and will do whatever he can to disrupt and or fuck with the midterms. He'll never accept the results of the midterms. If he could cancel the midterms, he will. Assuming we have midterm elections, though, Democrats are going to take back the House easily. And it's all because of Trump. Democrats may take back the Senate, tougher hill. And if they do, it will be all because of Trump. I have to say this. It's not because of the Democratic Party. Most Americans can't stand either party. The approval rating of the Democratic Party is also in the toilet. This will be a good year for Democrats because, again, of Trump. Democrats need to learn from that, though. And after these midterms, they better get their stuff together and say, this is who we are. This is what we believe in. This is what we're going to do. They don't need to do that this year, but they need to do that after the midterms.
Last question on this topic is for you, Micah. You're a very personable guy yourself, and you are in class, so I want to know, what do your fellow classmates think about this administration in general, and specifically about Todd Blanche, who previously, was considered, in my opinion, I thought he was like a semi-legit guy, less crazy than Pam Bondi. What are they saying now about how the Department of Justice is being run?
Right. I mean, we're a campus that has certainly had a lot of conservative bona fides. We have Harmeet Dillon, which is one of the hot ties up people at the DOJ coming here. We had Chief Justice Roberts speaking to a class 2 weeks ago. So, there certainly are conservatives at my school, but I'd say it's about 80% of people oppose the Trump administration. Even a lot of the conservatives oppose the Trump administration because they basically destroyed our industry. I mean, they have destroyed public service jobs. They've gone to the DOJ and turned it into this political tool. So none of these law students want to go there and be in a cog of some partisan machine. They want to go fight against actual crime. I mean, the Trump administration coerced the biggest law firms in the country into signing deals with the administration to do pro bono for Trump's organizations. People don't like this stuff, right? Because it's so. And one other thing, especially for the incoming class, Trump has royally effed law students in this country with his decision to cut student loans dramatically. Now, almost every law student that comes into law school is going to have to borrow $50,000 to $60,000 a year in private high-interest loans because of his policy changes. So he's certainly not very popular amongst us.
And just let me just add one quick thing.
Yeah,
Pam Bondi obviously was Pam Bondi, horrible, and Trump told her what to do. And when it came to the Epstein files, Trump told her to keep the Epstein files hidden. But think about that. Pam Bondi probably wouldn't do everything Trump wanted her to do when it came to the Epstein files. This guy, Todd Blanche, will do everything that Trump wants him to do. I could be wrong, but he's currently also Trump's personal lawyer. The whole thing is just horrible.
Yeah, that's crazy. Folks in the audience, I want to know, is the re-indictment of James Comey pure political retaliation? Give me your answer in the chat as we move on to the next topic, which is Saturday night. As you all know, there was the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which, as you also know, Donald Trump has somehow managed to avoid year after year after year after year because he didn't want to endure that same kind of humiliation he endured when he was there and President Obama and Seth Meyers teed off on him. Now, years later, this is his first time appearing. There he is with the mentalist there. And sure enough, there is an incident. There was a shooting. But as far as we can tell, the intruder was not the one that shot. It was apparently one of the Secret Service members. We don't know yet because, of course, they're keeping it tight-lipped. I don't know how difficult it is to find out who fired your weapon. You could smell the guy's gun that he brought with him and see if there was the smell of recently discharged gunpowder. It's not that hard. They know what the hell happened. There's the intruder there anyway. And there on the right, there's a picture of Donald Trump as he is addressing the press. He is jovial, as are the member of his cabinet to his left, and everybody's like, "Hey, this is so funny, it's great." And this is when he decides to talk about his ballroom, and he says, "Well, this is why we need a ballroom." And before you know it, everybody on the interwebs on the right side of the political spectrum is saying tonight is one more reason for the new White House Trump ballroom. Thank God President Trump is building a ballroom. This is why we need Trump's ballroom. We need the White House ballroom. All in unison. No chance that these guys had their notes coordinated. So anyway, so that brings me to this topic here, which is Donald Trump originally promised that this ballroom, going back a year ago, he said that this was going to be funded all by private donations, private donors. And now we have Lindsey Graham saying that $400 million should be taxpayer funded, the cost for this ballroom. Lauren Boebert is saying that she's going to introduce legislation to pay for the ballroom. So my question to you guys is, let me start with Joe. Joe, do we need this ballroom?
I gotta so hard watch my language.
No, you don't. Let it rip.
Fuck. Guys, for months now, every single day I've been posting whoever the Democratic nominee is in 28, they have to pledge that they're going to tear whatever the fucking ballroom is or looks like. They've got to tear it down when a Democrat becomes president. I don't just do that because it's a provocative thing to say or it'll get clicks. I mean it. If I were running for president in 28 as a Democrat, I would pledge to tear it down. And publicly funded, privately funded, doesn't matter to me. Donald Trump did not have the authority. We're broken records, right? He didn't have the authority to tear down the East Wing. He does not have the authority to build a ballroom. And stop there. We don't do palaces in America. This thing will be 3 times the size of the White House. It's a palace. We do not do palaces in America. That's our house. It's not his. This thing, Democrat, you asked me earlier, my friend, about fighting. Democrats need to fight, even about something like this. This whole election in 28 is not just going to be about the price of beef and the economy. No, damn it. It's about everything this guy has done to try to destroy this country. That ballroom is a symbol of him as a king. We do not do palaces in America. Democrats have to be serious and say that thing, whatever it is coming down under the next Democratic president. I'm done.
Micah, let's hear from you, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever I think about this situation, I think about political violence. And we saw so much rhetoric from Republicans about how the left is the more violent side. Meanwhile, I mean, we look at Trump's rhetoric. He's talking about violence all the time. The guy was literally throwing a party on Robert Mueller's grave, saying he was so happy that he died. I mean, he was just threatening to hang a few of our senators and Congress people. And now we just got to vote this same week of Republicans voting no on more safety measures to protect Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania. You guys, your audience might not remember, Governor Shapiro's home was burned down by a Trump voter with his family inside. And Republicans in Pennsylvania had the audacity to say, no, we're not going to fund making your family safe. We have an actively pro-political violence party. Then we have the Democratic Party, which every time something like this happens, they release the most nice, sweet statements wishing Trump well. We should stop pretending, and the media should stop pretending like both sides are the same on this issue whenever their universes apart.
Well, and I'll just add one thing to what Micah said, because Republicans are, and I've been doing a lot of TV fighting back. They're lying when they say political violence in this country is a left-wing problem. Mm-hmm. The truth is, for the last 30 to 40 years, the vast majority of political violence in this country has been committed by the right wing. That was up until mid-2025. There was an uptick in left-wing political violence halfway through last year. But up until that point, it was primarily right-wing political violence.
And I believe there was a study that confirmed what you just said by the Cato Institute, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is a right-wing think tank operation or whatever. They're the ones. Oh, libertarian. Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, they're not. They're the antithesis of the Heritage Foundation. Think of them like that.
They're not pro-leftist, you know. So they're definitely not biased.
They are right. Exactly.
Right. So you're absolutely right there. Micah, what do you think? Do you think our next administration, if it happens to be a Democratic administration, should, if somehow Trump's ballroom is able to be funded and built by or before 2029, should it be torn down immediately?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to fundamentally change everything he puts up. So whether you completely change what it's used for, completely reconfigure it, or you demolish it, then we have to build something new in its place. Whatever we do, we cannot let his legacy that he's trying to construct continue. I mean, he's putting his face on the side of buildings. He's putting his name on buildings. They're trying to rename waterways, put them on coins. We're going to take him off of everything. And we should replace everything where his name is, with like a black woman or something like that. Just because I know it would be the worst thing for him. Okay, choose the wokest person you can possibly find in American history. That's what we're gonna put on there. Okay, that's how we gotta win the culture wars, and that's the way we got to do it, in my opinion.
What do you think, Joe? Do you like the?
No, I do.
Like the tit for tat?
No, I love all of that. I'm just an old dark Irishman. I want that damn building torn down. And I just keep coming. again, we've said this so many times. He has not had the legal authority to do damn near everything he's done. By the way, as of the end of today, he's already violated the War Powers Act. All right. Congress hasn't even acted now. It's 60 days of this war that he launched. But
wait, is it a 60 days before that War Powers Act kicks in? Is that what
Congress,
it is?
correct me if I'm wrong, Micah, Congress has to vote to approve the war. The 60-day window is up as of today. Just one more example of something he didn't have the authority to do. That's our house, the White House, the People's House. He has destroyed a third of it. That's got to be rectified.
Interesting. Ladies and gentlemen who are watching, the question for you now, I'd like to see answers in the chat. Should taxpayers pay $400 million for a ballroom at a private club? And let's go move right along to our next topic. Yesterday, Prince Charles had the misfortune of being in the immediate vicinity of the tinted tangerine tyrant. And I'm going to leave all the other bullshit to the side about, Donald Trump attempted to do that same, pull handshake thing. And King Charles was not having it. But I want to skip forward to the part where King Charles addressed Congress. And I thought, I almost didn't watch this because I was like, it's going to be nothing, just a bunch of posh talk by the King of England. But I was very interested in what he had to say, because he was kind of like backhanded shaming Republicans. At one point, he said he reminded Republicans how NATO responded after 9/11. And of course, they all had to stand up and cheer, despite the fact that Republicans, for the most part, do not support Ukraine. He shamed them into a standing ovation behind supporting Ukraine. But my favorite one was, I'm going to play this clip. Play this clip right here. Share. Here we go. And my tweet was, hilariously, all Republicans jumped up to applaud when King Charles mentioned the need for the executive branch to have checks and balances.
In the American Bill of Rights of 1791. And those roots go even further back in history. The US Supreme Court Historical Society has calculated that Magna Carta is cited in at least 160 Supreme Court cases since 1789, not least as the foundation of the principle that executive power is subject to checks and balances.
Eat your heart out, you suckers. Joe, I want to start with you because I know your time is limited. How awesome was that to see Republicans have to cheer the very thing that they have not been doing?
Yeah, that moment made me profoundly sad, because every one of my former colleagues cheered that, knowing that they've utterly abandoned separation of powers and checks and balances. I mean, we haven't had a Congress for 15 months, but how beautifully poignant that a king comes over here 250 years after our founding to remind us that we don't have kings in America. A powerful moment.
Micah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's remarkable. You look at the UK, you look at Europe, and they have all of these political issues there themselves. But when they look at American politics, they're like feeling much better about their own situation. We dominate Australian and I think the UK's political scene, just because everybody finds what's going on here so much more chaotic. And I think it's really sad that we're now at a point where the country that we declared independence from, we were supposed to be more free than them, is now looking at us and saying, wow, this kind of situation you have is a little bit authoritarian.
Now, I'm not letting King Charles off the hook because, I while he did make a comment about the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, I thought it was too subtle, and I don't think he leaned enough into it. And maybe he should have agreed to meet with those survivors. That's debatable, I suppose. But what do you guys think about that? Should he have done more for the Epstein victims? Micah.
I mean, I think you look at the situation with Prince Andrew, and to a certain extent, his, the royal family hasn't completely protected him, but they should have done a lot more, a lot sooner, because ultimately he was always shielded by his connection to the royal family. And yeah, he's family, but he's also very likely a pedophile. And so I think they should have done more. They should do more now. It's never too late to act. He's a very important person. And the government of the UK hasn't launched investigations to a substantial degree. They should, and he has an extra big responsibility to be part of the solution, because his family was part of the problem.
And Joe, as little as King Charles said about the survivors, Trump hasn't said anything about them at all. So he still got one-upped by the king. What do you think?
No, and yeah, everything Micah just said, I completely agree with. The king is such a powerful figure. Every powerful figure should use their platforms and bully pulpits to speak out for the survivors and demand investigations. But again, we're in this horrible situation in America where our current president is in the Epstein files mentioned more than anybody else. And yet our current president has basically engaged in a huge government cover-up to keep those files hidden. And Mike is right that Prince Andrew is likely a pedophile. I can say the same damn thing about the current president of the United States. Think about that.
That is a damn shame. You're absolutely right. Joe, I know you had a hard out 7 minutes ago. I apologize for keeping you past. Do you have perchance a few more minutes to spare for a few words on the Pete Hegseth hearing disaster from today? Or
I would love to, but I do have to hop. But I have all the confidence in the world that you and Micah can bring us home.
Yeah, same here, buddy.
Thanks,
Thank
Joe.
you so much for agreeing to join me.
Good seeing
today.
you both.
I
Keep
can
fighting,
get
gents. Keep fighting. Thanks.
Bye.
And then there were two. Oh, I feel got more room now. So let's go ahead and jump forward to our next and final topic of the day, which is Pete Hegseth. Wait, do I have this here? Hang on. Oh, there we go. Yeah, okay. So Pete Hegseth was getting grilled by the House today. And specifically because he is seeking 1.5 trillion with the T dollars more for the Pentagon, more than has been already allocated to them, which is like, what? My issue with Pete Hegseth today, I think, can be summed up in any one of the clips. I'm just going to play one of them. They're hard to watch because he is belligerent. He is uncooperative. He is unfit, in my opinion, to serve as the head of our armed forces. He's with his slick back hair. He was built for TV and for shots at the bar and not much else. So I'm going to play this one real quick.
Another survivor said the building's protection was about as weak as one gets. Secretary Hegseth, that is obviously in direct contradiction to what you said from the Pentagon podium the next day. So are you saying that these soldiers, our soldiers who survived this horrific attack, are lying?
What I'm saying is before the commencement of the conflict, we put in maximum defensive posture. We could.
It's a direct
We moved 70
they said.
in this directing. Can I speak, or are you just going to monologue falsehoods all over the place?
It's not a falsehood.
We moved 7,500 troops off of
Reclaiming
the
my
based
time.
on the intel.
Stop.
Based on the intel.
Stop. Reclaiming my time.
Because you yell doesn't
Are
make you right.
trolling?
Just because you yell doesn't
I'm
make you right.
reclaiming my time on behalf of these survivors. You just said what they said is a falsehood.
There's a much larger
That
picture.
true?
There's a much larger picture at play here that included integrated air defenses, bunkers, moving people off the
Then why,
X
Mr.
to
Secretary,
ensure that they were not part of the target.
So
Shout out to that congressman. Was that Pat Ryan?
yeah, it was, man.
I love that guy.
Absolutely loved him saying, I've never seen a member of Congress say stop.
And he's like, just because you talk louder doesn't mean you're right. It's like, damn, dude, you're kind of getting cooked right now. That's
Dude,
crazy.
That line right there, just because you're loud doesn't mean you're right. You could apply that to any Fox News clip or CNN. I hate to say it, but I love Abby Phillip. But what I hate is that, you know, it's the guy, Scott Jennings, on her show. He's so smug and he likes to talk over. And so many people, right wingers, get on that show and they just want to talk over your voice so nobody can hear anything. What did you think about that clip?
Well, I mean, I think it's that people are confronting Pete Hegseth because he's probably the worst Secretary of Defense, because that's what it's still called in American history. But I think the bigger thing is what you mentioned earlier, which is the $1.5 trillion for the military. I mean, for reference, we're paying $880 billion already for the military, biggest military in the world. We spend more than the next 10 countries combined. They want to increase that by what, 70%? And how are they going to pay for it? Well, by doing what they always do, massively cutting every single program in this country that benefits Americans, Medicaid, food stamps, medical research, and borrowing trillions of dollars, because they promised us that they were going to lower the deficit. They've made it even worse, which is putting our country on like a route towards actual bankruptcy, like the actual like Great Depression style default financial collapse. That is what they're doing to pay for wars that we don't even want. It doesn't make any sense.
Micah, I've heard you mention finances earlier today as regards with tuitions and stuff like that. It's a very real concern for you, but you know you're not going to be in school forever, and it seems like you do have your eye on the debt and the deficit. How much does the mismanagement of our country's finances concern you? Are you worried that you and your generation are going to be saddled with a ginormous bill that you're not going to be able to do anything about?
This is actually the number one biggest issue for my generation, but also the country, because if our country is destroyed, it's probably going to be by this debt problem. I mean, if you look at the deficit, we're spending right now $1 trillion a year on interest payments, on interest. That's more than we're spending on almost anything but Social Security. And by 2030, we're going to be spending more on interest than Social Security. And we're borrowing so much money now, you know, in 10 years, 20 years, it's going to be $2 trillion. And you very quickly can see a timeline where we just don't have money for anything else. What happens is the government has to say, yo, we can't pay these debts anymore. What happens then? Every single bank, every big company goes down, and the US dollar goes down. It becomes worthless. And that's whenever you get an actual financial catastrophe that makes 2008 and makes 2020, makes it look like nothing. That's the way you destroy the country. And Republicans are doing everything they can to accelerate that doomsday timeline.
Yeah. It's terrifying that that it feels like nobody has got their eye on the road, right? Like I go by this when I'm driving. I like to look as far down the road as possible so that I can tell if there are potholes, if there's a traffic jam, if I should switch into the next lane, you know, so I don't get caught up behind that bus, you know, and can't see, or if somebody jumps out. I like to keep my eye down the road. It feels like we are being driven in a car by someone who is blindfolded and drunk at the same time. What do we do, Micah? I mean,
Well, I
this
mean,
is ultimately your world. So how do we rein all this shit in?
The thing is, none of the problems that we have in our country are not solvable. We just have a political class which is intent. They're paid to not solve anything, right? And so in the case of the debt, you don't have to do anything that crazy. If you look at the tax code right now, we have so many special tax breaks made for rich people. People can write off yacht mortgages, yacht purchases, private jet purchases. Why do any of these things exist? Life insurance policies. That's something that only rich people buy. Guess what? Fully tax deductible. Meanwhile, we pay for food, healthcare. We can't deduct any of that. It doesn't make sense. If you get rid of all the loopholes in the tax code, guess how much money you raise? $2.1 trillion a year. How much is our deficit right now? $2 trillion a year. You could solve it with one piece of legislation, but nobody wants to do that. Even, I'm going to say it, the Democrats haven't really talked about solving this issue because, a lot of their donors are rich people as well. The Republicans are worse. We need Democrats to talk about this because ultimately Republicans are not going to save us. Democrats are going to be the ones who have to do it.
Okay, so here's what I'm looking at then. I hear what you're saying, specifically when you're saying even Democrats, and because they're donors, right? So follow with me, right? They're donors. So how do you address that? Citizens United, right? But Citizens United is a decision it's out of our hands because of the Supreme Court. So that has to be overturned. You can't overturn that until you do something about the imbalance in the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court right now, it's 6-3. So what do? I guess we need more. We need more seats on the Supreme Court. And how do you get to more seats on the Supreme Court? Well, at some point, we're going to have to address the elephant in the room, which is voting rights. Because if we had voting rights, if we were able to vote on things without fear of Republicans cutting us off at the knees and say, ha, surprise, bitches, no more ballot boxes in your district, or, or being purged from the voting rolls, then we could vote for people who would add, 4 more seats to the Supreme Court. So we could overturn Citizens United, get the dark money out of politics, and then get somebody to address the deficit issue and do away with all those loopholes so those rich bitches could pay their fair share and help us dig out of this hole. Yes?
Yeah, I think that's 100% right. The priority is you have to fix democracy first because everything is rigged right now against Democrats and working class people, right? We have the Electoral College. That's rigged against us. We have the Senate. That's rigged against us because, look, D.C. is not even a state. Puerto Rico's not a state. Why? Doesn't make any sense. We have the House that's rigged against us because of all this gerrymandering. If you could start fixing those things, add D.C. as a state. Let's talk about the Electoral College. Let's ban gerrymandering. Now we start getting the power back so we can actually solve our problems. Now, regarding the Supreme Court, I think what you said is really important. We have to reform the Supreme Court. You look at these guys and they say they have an ideology. They're originalists. I just took a constitutional law class. I've read like every opinion these guys have written for the past 20 years. Okay. There's no ideology at play. They're not consistent at all. These are a bunch of partisan Republicans who wear black robes. And so what we have to do is we have to impose limits on them. We have to say, no, you can't actually take a $3 million donation from one of the people who's litigating a case in front of you. Right now, they can take $1 billion in donations from one of the people in front of them. That's going to stop. And we also have to say, if you've been on the court for 18 years, your time is done. I don't think we should pack the court. I don't think we should add more people. But I think it's if you've been there for 18 years, we put up an 18-year term limit, your time is done. That would get rid of 3 justices, and we could have a sensible majority.
Interesting. So term limits above packing the court.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think if you pack, it's an endless cycle. But we just say, listen, 18-year term limits. And if you've already been on for 18 years, you're gone. And who's been on for 18 years? Thomas, Alito,
yeah,
Roberts.
Yeah. I like it. I do like it. That's yeah. Well, so to the viewers, I want to ask you guys, what do you think about Micah's suggestion right there? Actually, he just changed my mind. I was literally sitting here like, pack the court. He broke it down to me, and suddenly, yeah, I like his idea much better. The term limits, I think, is brilliant. Micah, you are a super duper sharp dude. I'd love to have you back on the show if you're available, so we can cut it up some more and get those ideas out there. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Would love to come back sometime.
So hang tight while I'm just going to sign off real quick, and I'll see you on the other side. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And folks, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Defiant Weekly. I'm your host, Majid Padelin, aka BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad Defiant. And I look forward to seeing you guys here next week. Same time, same place. I love you all. Peace. Incredible person, incredible human being. Yes, famous. Yes.